Hello, my name's Faye and I'm surrounded by my last year reading journal, this year's reading journal, 12 books that I want to talk to you about for reading plans in 2024, the Christmas tree. I don't know, the whole scenery kind of tells you what we're going to be doing today. We're talking about reading goals and reading plans. The plan was not to be sick at the beginning of the year. The plan was also to get rid of the Christmas tree a little earlier. So we're already hitting those resolutions, aren't we? Let's jump in. Last year's reading journal gives us a little bit of insight into reading goals that I will and will not be taking into 2024. I read 82 books last year. That exceeds my almost traditional goal of reading 52 books every year. I haven't struggled to hit that goal in the last few years, so I am upping it to 60. Again, a reading goal that should be easy for me to achieve, but I do like the idea of just increasing that goal a little bit. Also, I saw my friend James do that on his Goodreads, and I like to compete with him. I had a few things that I tracked last year that I won't be tracking anymore. I tracked how much money I spent on books every month, and for a long time I wondered whether I could come up with some gamified version of money spent on books and how much I can spend now and how much I have to read, but it all just got too complicated, and I think I want to simplify some of my reading goals because I am introducing new ones in 2024. So I don't think I will track how much money I spent every month anymore. Maybe I'll regret saying that, but as it stands now, I'm not very interested in tracking that. I also won't track how many books move into my flat versus how many I read or how many are in a haul, because again, I tried doing that for the better half of last year and it just ended up being a little too confusing, to be honest. I would get confused about what rules I had for what's a hauled book. Is it only something that I spent money on? Is it only something that I have in physical format? Do things count that people borrow, like lend out? Do things from the library count? I don't know. I got kind of caught up in these rules and the numbers didn't really go down. It just looked as if I kept on hauling and not reading. So I guess the take-home message from doing an overview like that was that I should focus more on my physical shelf. And I do want to do that in one sense. And I did also do that very loosely last year. Last year, I had a spread of the books that I had hauled in 2022 that I hadn't gotten to so far. And my thinking of only going back 1 year to books that I haven't read makes sense insofar as that I want to read books that I'm excited about, and books that I bought relatively recently, up to a year ago, are books that I should still be excited to read. So this is last year's journal, and I, for every month, noted down which books I had bought that month and I hadn't read yet. So the year before last, 2022 in April, I bought this one, Sky Day, and I haven't read it yet. In January 2022, bought Frauenliteratur, a German non-fiction book that I did read in 2023. So I used this just as a guideline, like, hey, remember, these are books that you haven't had for such a long time. You do want to read these. You are still excited about them, so prioritize these. I will be doing that again in 2024 because this is something that I found actually worked for me. So this year, because I like a colouring out moment, I have book stacks corresponding to every month. So in January 2023, I bought 2 books that I haven't read so far. I bought more books that month, but the others I've read. So as we go through the months, I can check off, I can colour in books that I bought 1 year ago and that I am reading this year. I hope that way I will actually discover that all the books on my shelves, or many books on my shelves, are books that I'm still really excited about. This doesn't take care of books that have been standing on my shelves for a very long time, but maybe there's a reason they're on my shelves for a very long time and I'm just not excited anymore. Another goal that I want to slightly adapt but keep in 2024 is reading from different nationalities. In 2023, I set myself the goal of reading from authors from 30 different nationalities, and I didn't hit that. I read from 25, which I'm still pleased about. I thought it would make sense to set a goal that was quite ambitious, and if I didn't reach that, then I would still strive for that high goal instead of setting a sort of easier conservative goal and staying below my reading capabilities. So these 25 books, this is 2023's reading journal. I only read 25 books, and in 2024, I now have a new reading challenge. I want to add 12 new countries. So I've not blacked out, but greyed out all the countries that I read books from in 2023. And because they don't count for this year, I have to read 12 new nationalities. I thought it would make sense to go down in that number because I find it relatively easily to read a book by an author from the US, the UK. An Irish author is usually easy to find. A German author is usually easy for me to read. So that's sort of 4 nationalities that aren't that excitingly new for me anymore. So if I kept on counting those every year, I wouldn't actually be broadening my horizons when it comes to reading more diversely from different nationalities. So 12 unique new countries to my reading experience is the goal I'm setting myself in 2024. If I keep that up for like the next 10 years, then I will eventually have read a book from every nation. That would be cool. There are a lot of readathons that I really like on BookTube and Bookstagram. I did loosely follow the Year of Reading in Aldia challenge by Book Roast, and I enjoyed that. I really like reading in a more community fostering sense, and readathons really make sense for that. I tend to try to read a buddy read every month, and I did note that down last year. I think I will be reading many more buddy reads this year. This year will also be a full year with the book club that I joined last year, and in this book club we are also doing a reading challenge, a 12 prompt reading challenge, and those 12 books I am loosely deciding will fulfill those prompts. So I thought I'd go through the 2024 reading challenge of the Feminist Fiction Berlin book club, just the prompts and the books that I'm deciding to read for that challenge, hopefully. And this number 12 pops up again because I've also asked 12 friends to recommend books for me this year. So I will be doing 12 books by 12 friends in 2024. There's a lot of symmetry going on with all these 12 prompts and the year 2024. I don't know, it makes me happy. It's very clean, isn't it? So I have the 2024 Feminist Fiction Berlin reading prompts in front of me, and the first prompt is to read a buddy read. That's always really easy for me to hit. I'm currently reading a buddy read with my friend Anna, but a different book that I will be buddy reading hopefully with another friend is Blutbuch by Kim de l'Horizon, who is a Swiss author. Then we want to read smut, something smutty in February, which will be interesting, discussing that with other people. I've only ever read smut sort of privately under the covers, just by myself. So the romance that I have on my shelves currently is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I wanted to read this in autumn because of this amazing cover and never got to it. I hear good things about it. I hear that it's not actually as fun and frilly and light as I'm hoping, but I'll find out. The third prompt is to read a book about a messy main character, and I think Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder will be a cool one for this. Then in April, we challenge everyone to read a banned book, and The Awakening by Kate Chopin is a book that my mum suggested I read. This brought quite the uproar at the time, I believe. I do think that when you research banned books, the whole discussion is very centered on the US, which makes sense. A lot of the book banning that goes on there in libraries and schools I find quite shocking. But I live in Germany. The books that are banned here in Germany are very few and far between. And as a country, book banning isn't such a central idea to politics and society. So yeah, I veered out a little here, and when this was published, because it's sort of a lot about female passion and pleasure, there were discussions about banning it, I believe, in the UK. I'm not sure. It's obviously not banned. It's readily available. That's the book that I'm thinking of reading in April. Then May asked you to read a book that gives you feminist hope, and I struggled so much with finding a book to fit this prompt. In the end, I've decided to read Small Bodies of Water by Nina Minja Pauls, and the reason why this gives me hope is because I believe I first came across this because of the Wainwright Prize, which I follow often. You've heard me say this often. It's a UK-based prize for nature writing, which I very often find a little too focused on the British and very like almost elitist British experience. There's pictures that come to mind when I think of, I don't know, upper class British person on their estate, wandering across their land. I don't know, something about like British nature writing I haven't found terribly inclusive, and Small Bodies of Water promises to be different, and that gives me hope. Our sixth prompt for June is all about going against the hot girl summer idea, and we want hot books. And what is hotter than Fire Rush by Jacqueline Crooks? Loads of people talked about this so highly last year. I never got to it because I was slightly intimidated. Everyone said it sort of was very poetic, and I find that difficult to get into sometimes, but it would be a real shame if this one just ended up on my pile of forgotten books. Then our prompt for July is to read a book that makes you visit a new country, and I have Nervous Conditions by Tsitsi Dangaramba, which I believe plays in Zimbabwe and follows a young girl as she goes, I think she moves to sort of a private, like a boarding school or something. I'm not entirely sure. I just know that I accidentally hauled the second in what is a trilogy, and I had to remedy that. Of course, Nervous Conditions is the first, so I do want to read that. Otherwise, I'm blocked and I can't continue reading the other unread book on my shelves. In August, we're challenging everyone to read a book recommended by a feminist. And Sophie, the wonderful co-founder of my book club, recommended I read The Mountains Sing by Nguyen Phan Kim Mai, and this is set in Vietnam, and she said the thing that she liked the very most about this is that it follows the relationship between a grandmother and her granddaughter, I believe, and that relationship, even though like set in the 70s in Vietnam, very different to her experience, really resonated with her. So I'm really curious to read this one. In September, we're challenging everyone to read a book about something that you should have learned about in school. And I am reading Herland by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, because this is like a feminist classic that I'd never heard of when I was still in school. And I think on the whole, my reading experience, the sort of literary canon in my high school really was lacking, and I would really like to know what this is about. October is the season to be Gothic, and the Gothic book that I will be reading is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I've had this on my shelf for a while as well. I believe she is a Mexican author, and yeah, I have this passed on to me from my friend. I should have read this earlier, but I think, yeah, this year's spooky season will be a good one. In November, we're looking for Tools to Smash the Patriarchy. A non-fiction book that I have secretly already started is Friendaholic by Elizabeth Day, all about her tendency to manically collect friendships, and she reflects on what friendships mean to her, to all of us. This is a really cool mixture of memoir and like research backing up how we feel towards friendships. And then finally in December, the prompt is, does the movie adaptation count? So the challenge is to read a book that has been adapted into a movie, and I will be reading, hopefully, Persuasion by Jane Austen. I've read three other Jane Austen novels so far. So this one is me hinting towards my friend Christy that she please can let me know when she feels ready to read Persuasion with me, because I've read the last 3 Jane Austen novels together as buddy reads with my friend Christy, and it's really elevated the reading experience for me. It's made it so much more enjoyable, so I don't want to stop that. So those 12 I will hopefully be tackling for the Feminist Fiction Berlin reading challenge. I will link to the Instagram. You can look at all the prompts if you feel like doing that. Like I said, I will also be reading 12 books by 12 friends in 2024, and I'm trying not to bog myself down with all of these challenges. I do also want to continue enjoying reading, and I also want to be able to read new books, as I would be quite interested in maybe reading some of the Women's Prize for Fiction books, potentially together with my mum. I love that Simon and Louise, for the Savages, that they read the Women's Prize books together. I think my mum and I will not manage to read all of them, but I do really like talking about books with her. And finally, because I want to put it out there, I really like this community aspect that you can foster by reading, and I think I would quite like to do like a mini readathon this year, maybe in September, maybe together with my friend Anna at Novelish. I'm not sure. The thought of organising a readathon really intimidates me, but I really enjoy joining in with other people's readathons. So I do feel like adding something into the mix. I think 2024 promises to be a really great year for books and for my reading. Let me know if any of the books that I've briefly talked about tickle your fancy. You know, this is all a community effort. Maybe there are some books that you could recommend I read. Maybe there are some books you would like to read we can read together. I hope you had a really good 2023 and you are excited for all the amazing books coming your way this year. Happy New Year. I think this is the last time I'll wish you a Happy New Year. We just have to stop being sick and get into the new year successfully, take down our Christmas trees. I'll see you next week, and I hope you're doing really well. Bye.